everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka
Stop shooting! Shots fired, shots fired.
MBT. And we are back with another Twitter thread. Again, no chat. God, it's so peaceful here. Today I want to talk to you about cards that aren't good for a reason that no one can really ascertain. There's a significant amount of really powerful cards that see no play whatsoever, and for the life of me, I don't know why. Today I'd like to talk about those and let you offer some of your own. I'm going to begin with this one, Reborn Tengu. The card for which Tengu format is named, this card fell out of favor because it doesn't really work favorably with things like Xyz monsters. But if you link this guy off, he does summon another Tengu from deck. He's a tri-type, he's a wind. Surely someone can make use of 3 link material on one body, but so far they haven't. Anyway, let's see what you all came up with. I do honestly find it weird that basically no other deck than Striker plays Upstart at 3. I know that Droll exists, but we all know how strong it can be having a 37 card deck. I think 2 things prevent this card from being played in the capacity that it was in like 2015. The first is that so much of the game is determined by access to hand traps in your opener, lingering floodgate effects like Fuelos and Perulia, and of course, in Master Duel, Maxi and its ilk. This is a card that could have been those, and it's not activatable on your opponent's first turn. The second, of course, is Droll. You've already mentioned Droll, and I think Droll is a pretty serious consideration, especially if you look at the hand trap lineup for most of the decks that topped YCS Pittsburgh. It just looks like Droll is here to stay permanently, and as long as that's the case, I can't imagine sleeving this card up. All right, I appreciate this one because it's total cope. It's instant fusion, and if you get Neos Engrave, it's a hand rip and a level 4 or 7 extender, and then put in parentheses the correct opinion, which is if you ignore a lot of things. Yeah, a lot goes into making this card as powerful as you've just described, but it is funny that at release, I think a lot of people figured this was just going to be a ready fusion that didn't suck ass to activate. It's not. It's unplayable. Spence has a fantastic one. He's a mostly generic rank 8. He is an Omni that negates effects, not activations, which matters in some matchups. He beats Dark Ruler no more. He beats Droplet if you have an errant quick play spell. Keep in mind that this card targets a card an opponent controls and negates that face-up card's effects until the end of the turn. He's got this huge attack stat, which lets him OTK like nobody's business, and he is not played anywhere. I don't know, man. It's not like people aren't playing rank 8s. I mean, how many formats in a row has Hope Harbinger been considered? I guess there's just not enough darks. Atrocity's got a complicated one that I agree with parts of and disagree with other parts of, which is basically just the tagline for Atrocity's account at this point. K9 izuna. So I disagree insofar as K9 has been at least somewhat meta viable since its release, but I totally agree insofar as this is not what we thought Rescue Ace Impulse was for Genesis, a 3-1 package that you could theoretically slot into just about anything to get something like a Nash Knight or a Veilon on your opponent's turn. A lot of people assumed people were just going to play this like Havness and hope to spike it against decks that lose to getting their monster sucked. Instead, it is very powerful in K9 decks, but pretty much nowhere else. I don't want to say this one is going to last forever. I think there's a format in the future in which theoretically a deck could lose to the effect of something like a Nash Knight, and for that reason this would be considered pretty heavily. But now it's in this weird position where like one of the top decks in the format doesn't ever trigger this effect with the exception of Marshmallow, but if they have Marshmallow, that's just an errant extender which beats Nash anyway. At present, it's hard to argue that it's anything resembling a power hand trap. Dire's got a great one. E-Telliable, 1-for-1able, any type, any attribute in the game, allows any deck Dominus protection by turning into Linkuriboh. Any deck that needs a Link 1 for a type or attribute to play it, allows Psychic decks to pivot into other boss monsters. This is all true, and also she's only saying it because she owns a metric fuck ton of them that she's trying to offload for profit. Similar thing happened with Onibi Maru. Do not trust editors. They are engaging in market manipulation. This one's funny because like this card's not bad. This is a target for 7th Tachyon because it's an over 100 number, and occasionally the decks that reveal it for 7th Tachyon will just make this card. Every time I've made this card, I'm like, damn, this card is really good. No Yu-Gi-Oh monster stays at its original attack these days. It's just like a lot of investment for a removal spell. Like Castel doesn't work anymore, man. You gotta win the game off every play you do. Okay, but for real, how has this card seen 0 play? Man, I remember when this card was revealed, a lot of people were saying you can really make use of this in K9. Queen of the Blazing Domain, I think a TCG exclusive, can't be destroyed by card effects, and this card is in your hand. You can target up to 2 cards you control, including a face-up spell trap. Destroy them, special summon this card. If you destroyed a card, return this card to the hand during the end phase of the turn, or if you destroyed 2, it gains this effect instead. Any monster sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard is banished instead. You can search it off of Infernal Flame Banshee to get into a position where you floodgate your opponent on the first turn. It's a one-sided macro, so you can play it in decks that cannot beat the macro effect, and it synergizes super well with both chaotic elements and a case for canine. Still absolutely nowhere. I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, in TCG, it makes sense. I understand why people don't do it in the TCG because we don't have the Link monster, but in Master Duel, they do, and no one plays this card. It is full combo for anything. It will do your taxes. It will finish your homework for you. It is a better LLM than ChatGPT, and people are like, I don't know. I mean, have you normal summoned Alistair recently? I could not tell you why this card is not seeing play. I guess the only format in which it's even remotely available is also the format with Maxi, but like everyone loses to Maxi. Is this that big of a deal? Here's a good one. Delta of Invitation. I'm surprised I don't see this one mentioned a little more often, but yes, Delta of Invitation is a great answer. This person says, of course, it gives Eldritch decks combos, but I think the important part is the next part of the sentence, that it makes Eldritch an engine. By using Delta of Invitation to send Eldritch alongside the new Eldritch fusion, you just get a free 10, and you get access to Wandering Titan of Tartarus, which you can play when you are going second for an unrespondable board wipe that like forces your opponent to send. Now, I think this card isn't being played because that's a lot of cards to include in a deck for what is essentially a sideboard plan, but I really like that it has applications going both first and second. I think the place you're likely to see this card is actually Master Duel, where Best of One could really use an engine that's flexible enough to be targeted against going first or second, but available on both halves of the coin toss. Card's cool. Master Duel example, isn't it wild how rare Spright Elf is? Okay, this card does show up, but it's shocking because legitimately I would expect this to be in everything given how powerful it was in the TCG, but it just isn't. It's in so few decks and accomplishes so little in them. It's completely done a 180 in my mind as to whether we can or cannot keep this card banned. I think it's okay. Genesis example. Hey, Trunade is a 0-point back row removal card in a format where that's at a premium, plus a back row bounce for decks that want it, like Witchcrafter and White Forest. You'd think that would make it a side deck staple, and yet, I'm going to be honest, by publishing this video, I think it is going to become a side deck staple. I legitimately think this card isn't being considered because people aren't thinking about it. I think you will see this card show up in the slot that's currently reserved for Cosmic Cyclone in a lot of the people's decks who just basically jam in Kaiju, Dark Ruler no more, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, and then whatever flavor of ridiculous 0-point card you want for the last couple of slots. This could be one of those slots. Trevor Allen's got a great one. Duality. Every time I've read it, I have to read it again. I've read it 100 times. I just know I'm missing something. Some drawback, some lingering turn restriction, something. Duality is the perfect example to me of the way that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has changed. You would expect this card to be extremely powerful, but you just can't really play an unsearchable power 3 of that enables you to get to a modular boss at the cost of some sort of investment. There was a time when cards like Transmodify were being considered in meta decks, but that time has come and gone. This does see occasional play. I think Joshua Schmidt really likes it because of its applications in Runic, but yeah, it's nowhere near the powerhouse that it reads. Where the fuck is this guy? Just like dominated format after format after format after format. He's back, baby, and doing hot nothing. I just don't understand. It's not like there's not dark monsters to play. There was a period when every new format, Phantom Knight was the best deck for the first month just because anything changing meant that this deck that was already solved was fantastic. These days, if I saw a Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche across the table, I'd be like, oh, thank God, a free win. Okay, so I will push back on this one a little bit. Divine Golden Shadow Dragon Dracluxion is played in a significant amount of decks just to get to 7th Tachyon. Like, this guy's like, if you're playing the Mitsurugi engine, you can get anything you could get off 7th Tachyon. Like, that's fine. But what this person is talking about is any deck that can make 8s can theoretically use this card to search the strongest counter trap in the game, then turn it on by ranking up into Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. You can even go a little further and play the main deck one for just a free 8 material. It's crazy no one's experimenting with this in the TCG. I do want to get out ahead of the haters. In Genesis, this is a reasonably popular thing to do. If you're playing a deck that can access 8-star monsters and you know you will be going first, you can board into this and the counter trap to box out your opponent's going second tools. I do it. I play Fire King, and this guy and his associated cards feature in the side. Really would recommend giving it a look. This one is a huge hear me out because saying something like Accesscode Talker isn't good seems unbelievable, but they're kind of spitting. Said, hear me out, no deck in the top 8 of YCS Pittsburgh played Accesscode. There was a time when this was an instant include no matter what deck you played, if only to out skill drain, but you are correct. Now it is just a Malice card, a weird extender for Whitebinder, and also a way to close out a game where you're already massively ahead. I think he is destined for the Boral Sword bin, absent any new developments in just spamming bodies technology. Don't show me this card, man. Someday, long in the future, when they've retrained the Neo-Spatians, courtesy of Miracle Flipper's retrain, then this card will be good. Until then, yes, it's dog shit ass. Shadow's Light is so interesting because I don't think I have ever seen it played and not immediately gotten the reaction, what the hell is this card? Target a dark monster you control, special light monster from your deck or extra deck with the same original type and level. You can banish this card from your graveyard. During your main phase, you can normal a light or dark monster in addition to your normal summon or set. It cuts your battle phase, but I just don't get it. It's like Duality, but it can get anything from anywhere. Again, to return to the transmodify adage, an unsearchable 3-of that nets you some advantage for some amount of investment is just a little dicey to play. Where the fuck is she? I thought she was gonna be in everything. I thought this was Appaloosa 2. You understand all the Fiendsmith stuff is still legal, right? You can sneeze and make this card. It's nowhere. It's in nothing. Vesper Girsu is a great answer. It's a quick spell board wipe with the upside of your opponent having to make a thoughtful decision about how to interact with it. It seems like such an auto-include with the Radiant Typhoon draw spell. It's won me every game I have resolved it in. I think the reason that this card doesn't see a lot of play is because it gives your opponent a little agency. A lot of cards compete for this slot, so it's super hard to justify playing one that gives your opponent a little bit of any sort of lifeline back into the game when you could be playing a slew of others that just say you win. All in all, a lot of these cards are puzzling. We may never know why a lot of these cards aren't seeing play. Frequently, options aren't being considered just because people totally forgot about them. If the best this video can do is remind you that there's a lot of unsung heroes deep in your bulk, hopefully it will have an impact on what you bring to locals. Just not against me. Do not activate Vesper Girsu against me. I don't want to have to make any decisions. One time when I was playing against my cousin, he made a super strong attack, but he fell into my trap because I had a magic-y cylinder face down and I activated the magic cylinder and did a lot of damage. I didn't win the game, but it was really cool and that's why I think it's strong. Siberian with a perfect impression of all of the people who are replying to this tweet at present.